Welcome to The Weekly. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Chris.
And this week on The Weekly, Green Ronin turns 25.
Okay.
Dark Tower's Director's Cut.
Okay.
Netrunner Elevation, another expansion.
Okay.
We'll talk about how they're doing. And a Resistance bundle.
Okay.
To bottle up that impotent rage and get it onto your gaming tables.
Let it out. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Role play that rage. All right. So let's start with, Green Ronin posted that they are kicking off their 20th anniversary. Yeah. So it's been, 2000 was the birth of Green Ronin. So Chris Pramas posted a nice kind of biographical blog post about the origins of the company and looking back. So they're going to plan all throughout the year special events, sales, and looks back at important moments in the history of the company. So but he's talking about going back all the way to the 90s, the distant 90s, when he was a freelance RPG designer in 93, and wrote for some different RPGs, including Feng Shui Over the Edge and Ray Winninger's Underground, as well as Warhammer Fantasy. Then started his own company, Ronin Publishing, but nothing quite came of it. And then started working moved to Seattle, worked in the late 90s for Wizards of the Coast. So worked on all that good D&D stuff. But the funny thing is the origin. So the Ronin Publishing was...
Never really got anywhere?
It didn't get anywhere, but it came from something interesting he had to do as a freelancer. So Green Ronin was founded in February of 2000, and their first game was Orc, the role-playing game, which was kind of a beer and pretzels game that came out of their playing as orcs in D&D, and said, hey, this is fun. We should do a whole game about this. So when he was... there were three partners at Ronin Publishing, and so when they were communicating by email, they color identified their emails, so they were probably green, red, blue, whatever. And yes, of course, instead of calling it Chris Pramas Games, it went with Green Ronin because he was the Green Ronin when they were first working on the publishing. But yeah, so and it was Gen Con 2000 where their Orc role-playing game first appeared, and then I'm sure
I can only imagine what self-publishing was like back in 2000.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I would be very curious to see what that Orc, the role-playing game, first printing looked like. Because unless it was just like a photocopied, zine stapled thing, I don't think that's what it was. I'm imagining like an actual book.
Right. Well, there were small, already, even by the late 80s, printing companies were being a little kinder to short run small press. So people, that was I think already by 2000 people were doing, or not, I think even Lulu.com was around by 2000. Yeah, because I was doing San Diego Comic-Con late 90s, and they were handing out baseball caps with Lulu on them. So I think print on demand, they were one of the first. Along with like Cafe Press and stuff. But Lulu was like specifically targeting the comics and the self-publishing novelist market. So yeah, it was almost there because desktop publishing was pretty firmly established. But yeah, it wasn't, what it is today. But it would be funny to see, the art and everything is early Photoshop and all that good stuff. Good stuff. But so we'll follow what they're talking. I guess they're going to talk about their age system, right? The fantasy age.
Right. I forgot it's AGE. Not age. I'm like, age, only 25.
Only 25, not that old. Yeah, so we'll see what they do. And of course, as we were saying about Tunnels and Trolls being 50 this year, everyone's going to do a better job than D&D did.
I mean, it would be kind of hard, as long as you like... It would be hard to do a worse job than Hasbro, right? I mean, especially given their size and how big the product is, and they knew it was coming up. Like, basically, all you gotta do is like plan something, follow it through on time, and do a reasonably good job, and you'll be like miles ahead of WotC.
Well, it sounds like they're too busy trying to get the hell out of Providence, Rhode Island. They're moving like Bayside, Boston or something. So Hasbro is like, all the Microsoft executives are, where's my ocean view? I don't like this Providence, Rhode Island. So they're picking up stakes and leaving the building that's been the Hasbro building for probably 50 years. So that's what they've got. Other concerns of prestige and digital
parachutes.
Digital plans. All right, and something else that was celebrated with a Kickstarter was the Dark Tower. So Goodman Games did a crowdfunder for Dark Tower and created a kind of a deluxe edition, and this went to retail now. And even though you're kind of stuck, if you want to use a converted version, they're only converting it to either 5e or DCC, and their early stuff was all only 5e versions. But I really like this. It's such a celebration. Their original adventures remastered is really cool because they reprint the entire original book in a hardcover form, in a large format hardcover form. So it's really cool to look at that. And then there's essays and reminiscence, and people are like, they're putting photos of them at, you know, ping pong tables playing D&D as kids and stuff in the 70s. So it's really fun to see how much, how much love people have for these classic adventures and people talking about running them. So they did the same thing. Dark Tower got the same treatment. It's part of their remastered line, and they did 3 books in a slipcase. So a huge collection. Of course, there's both 5th edition and D&D classics, and that makes it maybe a little hard for crowdfunding too, because they're already expensive books. You have to choose which one, and obviously DCC seems a little more fun and reasonable, especially in this setting too. It seems like DCC might be a better.
Oh, you mean it
match.
seems kind of hard for them to have to
they got two
versions.
Yeah, they got 2 versions, and so you got to pick one or spend $300 to get both. Yeah, but this was one of the earlier adventures with a town harboring secrets. This is from 1979, so this set up that trope of and also factions within a dungeon, so you can kind of manipulate people. You can do the Jimbo thing where you're playing.
You don't just have to fight.
You just have to cut everything's head off, right? So you start off at the small town of Mitra's Fist and find out there is a cult worshiping the snake god Set. So
I think Conan Properties LLC would like to have a word.
Yeah, right. There's 3 books, and the first is just a straight reprint of the original module. The second is the adaptation of whichever system you wanted, and then the third is a collection of new adventures. And because Wizards of the Coast doesn't own Dark Tower, they were given some freedom. The designers for these new adventures were given some freedom to work within and just kind of celebrate the Jacquesing the a dungeon. And so this of course this is the work of Janelle Jacques, and one of her most famous influential settings. And so it's nice to see it get this treatment. I've got the Temple of Elemental Evil collection like this, and it's only 5e, but it reproduces, the Village of Hamlet. It reproduces everything in a hardbound copy, version. And then there's all this supporting, people talking about running it the first time, how it's changed, how it's a really how it remains a classic adventure, but how it's nice. They're nice little historical things to have. Unfortunately, early days it was all just 5e, but it's still very usable because you've got the original text.
One day their time will come.
Yes. So this adventure, Dark Tower, starts at level 3, and so you're going to have your characters a little more powerful than you may already have.
Just go in a dungeon and grind some rats until you're
yes, but it's really nice. So essays, commentary from the creators, deleted materials, and then also kind of I think they give you context, because they say this is the popular TV shows, this is comic books people were reading, this is the things going on in current events, and these are the people that were originally playing this adventure. This is who designed this adventure, coming from this place.
The context thing is interesting, right?
Yeah.
It kind of okay, this is obviously not dated is the wrong word, but a kind of an artifact of its time. So we're going to give you context of the time, so you can kind of explore it in the setting it originally came out in. People know what I mean. Yeah,
and see the influences. I think it's why, because things have been so recombined with meme culture and the internet and everything. Nobody knows original source of anything, because it's been processed through multiple types of communication and socializing. So to see, this is where the original trope came from. It seems like this thing that's been repeated ridiculously, infinitely, but this is one of the first times it was used, and that's why they did it this way, because of this cultural context.
Not to mention recontextualized and ground up and fit into grok.
Yeah, right. Yes. Yeah. Just keep slinging that slop with SpongeBob on it. All right. So yeah, it's so I'll put a link to that. And they've got Goodman Games has distribution with Diamond, what was remaining of Diamond.
Right.
So Amazon and some of the online retailers have this book in stock. So ordering internationally from Goodman Games is not a good idea because they probably prefer not to ship to you. But it's out there at the online retailers if you look around. All right, and an old love of ours is back and kind of struggling.
Why are you doing this to me? Why are you opening this wound again?
So Null Signal Games announces another Netrunner expansion. So Elevation is going to take their card game to new heights.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess it's story-wise.
Okay.
So formerly Nisei. I guess they're avoiding being sued by saying we're a non-profit. Like we are, they are calling themselves, and I think even when Nisei originally took over, they said, we're a registered non-profit dedicated to providing online gaming support for Netrunner. So an all-volunteer team designs and playtests the new cards, provides prize support for the community events, and maintains a ban list and competitive play, all for volunteering, no money. How long can this go on? I mean, we love Netrunner, but
I was kind of confused as well first, and like I was a Patreon of theirs for a while, and I only recently said, you know what, I want to see what they're doing again. I think the new cards. Okay, I don't know how they're getting around the name.
Yeah.
But new cards have new icons. Like wording is slightly different. The backs of the cards are different, right? So I guess that's enough to get around it, right?
Yeah, and they said, and for their competitive play, it all has to be opaque card backs because there are so many different card backs from Nisei now to the Null Signal. They changed icons, and you can still use some of the older cards as well. But I did notice in their the kind of storylines, they're still referring to Jinteki and House Bioroid, and so they're using stuff from Fantasy Flight's
like games,
Android setting, but they're also using the cards from the original Richard Garfield Netrunner. The terms are similar. So it's like,
they might be using terms that are not copyrightable,
right? Yeah.
Like you can't copyright tap, right? So like click, right? Things like that,
right?
And that's why I think they probably, if they hadn't changed the icons, that'd be a lot more like, come on, here, all you did was copy our stuff, right? So like the new trash icon, the new memory icon, the new looks of the cards are evocative of the originals, but I guess different enough where they can say we've made this from the ground up with our own stuff. But I don't know how they're still able to use Fantasy Flight Games IP.
Yeah. But maybe there's some sort of agreement. It's like, well, we're not gonna do anything with it in cards. So interesting. And so talking about in this new set. So there's a cycle of runner cards that host cards, ice inspired by UNESCO World Heritage sites, 6 new run events, way to install agendas face up, runner ID that puts organized crime back into the criminal ID. A new region upgrade and new upgrades that move between servers, neutral cards that purge virus counters, card with bees on it, 3 cards that take credits from opponents, and a way for a runner to trash rezzed corp cards without accessing them. Yeah, so there's
if you haven't played Netrunner, you have
that doesn't make any sense. But
those all sound pretty cool.
But it's interesting to see that they're thinking new mechanics wise, and also expanding a story. They've got their own kind of story, their own kind of narrative going, and trying to expand that world. So the set is inspired by Makota Lingit and the surrounding city of Kota Kalimantan. I'm not sure exactly where that is, but depicting a towering structure rising over natural mountains of the area. So they're taking cues from real life to make their mega cities from. And they've been doing this for a while, 6 years. They've been the stewards of Netrunner and kind of doing stuff. Their website, though, I wasn't encouraged. I mean, I guess, it's nonprofit volunteers. Their website is pretty busted.
Oh, really? Is it? Okay.
The store doesn't do anything. There's a lot of maybe it was like a maintenance and they forgot to put it into maintenance mode while they're making some changes on the back end. But everything was. I wanted to take a look at the pricing and how they, what their starter sets were and everything, and nothing was working.
I visited earlier this week because it was just coincidence, right? Like I finally transferred money back to the States and took a beating on the exchange rate. But anyway, it's kind of like, okay, it's time for me to reinstitute some of the Patreons, I had to like pause, and I said, oh, what about Nisei Games? Like, it's been a while since I've thought about them. Then, oh, that's right, they're no signal now. And I'd actually gotten cards, physical cards from them, because I think since they're like a non-profiter and they can't really make money, the two ways they make cards available are just the free print and play files, right? Like, here's PDFs of the cards we made. You print them out, you sleeve them, you do whatever you want. Or I think they go through drive-through cards where, okay, here it is kind of at cost. Right? Like, we're not making a profit on these. And I think I got the physical cards, and the quality was decent. It was fine, right? I forget what set I got, though. I don't know. I should get back into it.
Yeah, they've done a few expansions. So this is a non-rotating expansion due out, and it will be legal in their open play, their competitive play by May 2025. But they are retiring, so stuff they've done maybe in 2021, 2022 is starting to be phased out, and just in competitive.
Well, I was talking at someone at work with like the only cool person at work who doesn't play card games, but of course is kind of in there and talking about people getting into Magic, and I said, okay, Magic just got ridiculous. But for a collectible or living card game where you're releasing cards on a regular kind of basis, at what you cannot look at every possible interaction between the cards the longer the print run goes. You're just like, we have cards for 10 years.
Yeah, that's true.
We can't anticipate somewhere. We just have to say, for tournament play, here's the cutoff.
Yeah.
And then we only have to look at this subset of cards for wacky interactions, right?
Right. Yes. So for anybody not familiar, so that was the first game we actually played together as Netrunner.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So it's
Thank you, Netrunner, for bringing us together.
Yes. An asymmetrical two-player card game where one person's a runner and one person's a corp, and basically you're trying to hack their servers. They're trying to destroy you. You're just trying to steal enough points of agendas, so you find out their secret plans to overthrow the world and dominate the population. And so you can choose different types of runners that are themed around different factions, and then the corps, of course, are their own kind of thing. They're either into artificial life.
It does have a fairly steep learning curve.
Yeah.
I don't know. Magic is the baseline, right? Magic, one deck, right? Like, both people play the same thing. No, it's asymmetrical because it's only a two-player game. One player has to be the corp. The other person has to be the runner. And there are separate pools of cards for corp cards and runner cards. So it's almost like you have two sets of cards to learn. So there is a fairly steep learning curve compared to like other games. But
and it's nice though, because playing the other side like teaches you to play playing corp teaches you to play runner and play and the vice versa.
Like, so tournaments there, you wouldn't show up with one, you had to show up with two. Here's my corp deck, here's my runner deck, and a match consisted of, okay, you play one, I play the other, and then we swap, and then you look at the points. And it's a good game. Yeah,
and it really, the thing that stood out the most to me compared to Magic or any other thing is the community was nice. I mean, there was just if somebody played Netrunner, they were a nice person. They were easy to get along with. It was fun to just hang out with, and so I think that's how our group kind of assembled.
That's how we
playing
gelled,
that, and then D&D 5e shattered that, broke that all apart,
right?
Totally destroyed it. But but good luck to Null Signal. I hope they can keep this up because it's a great game. It's just a shame that nobody with some.
We still don't know exactly what happened. I will bet you a pack of Null Signal cards, like Hasbro said, no, we're not giving you the license again.
I think they just fucked them over. Maybe we'll do something with it. But just wanted to cut down on anybody because it was cutting into Magic. It was like, this is a fun, very different style game. It's competitive, but it has a nice theme.
It was basically a Magic competitor, and because Fantasy Flight had the license to use terms and stuff from the original Andrew Garfield game, they had to pay Hasbro, and Hasbro just said, okay, well, no more of that.
Right.
Anyway, I was planning on I was like 90% sure I was going to try some new Null Signal cards, so I think I'll report back later on after I get them.
Cool. And there's online, right? Like people can play. Didn't Nisei kind of set up, or there already was an existing kind of?
There already was an existing one. People say you could play on like gintechie.net, which again was like fan based, so not legal in any way. I never really played online, so I can't really answer that question. But I think they have some at least card proxies or online ways to play. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting. They've kept it alive. I mean, because it was that good. It deserves to have a second.
Things started
wave.
getting a bit wacky at the end.
Yeah. That's
in terms of how often they released cards.
Right.
But
I think they're trying to make a bit of money and not play test by cutting out that expensive play testing phase. Yeah, that's true. All right, and finally, let's join the resistance. So there's a few days left at Bundle of Holding to get their resistance bundle, their anti-authoritarian bundle, to show everybody what you're really made of.
Money.
Yes, right. So 10 different RPGs about fighting authoritarian states. And of course, the typical Bundle of Holding, there's a starter collection, and then they're
level up collection.
Yeah, level up. That's right. So for the threshold price currently is $27, but that gives you everything, including things like Apocalypse Frame, Galactic 2E, a GM-less game, kind of based on the Rogue One or Andor kind of setting of space opera Star Wars stuff. But this is not available on drive-thru. So there's a couple of entries here that aren't available on drive-thru. So interesting, because these are DRM free PDFs of these games. They appear in your little wizard's cabinet, so you have them forever, just like drive-thru RPG, but your email address and everything isn't on every page.
Yeah, that's a bit annoying. Yeah.
So you can get things like Eat the Reich, No God's Country, a couple of Drakes, Moonpunk, and 2 expansions for Misspent Youth. And let's see. Starter collection for $12.95, Apocalypse Frame, Galactic 2E, plus Going Rogue, Grey Ranks, Misspent Youth 1.2, and the bonus collections, Eat the Reich, No God's Country. Yeah, like I said, Moonpunk 2, Misspent Youth expansions. So
all games about resistance, but I mean, okay, that is the theme. I've never played Grey Ranks. I know of it. You're playing child soldiers in World War II Poland.
Oh, right.
Vastly different from something like Misspent Youth, where you're kind of like music, not exactly music, but you're kind of more like punk-based thing. So there's a theme. The games could be wildly different. Right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that was really fun. What are you playing next? Grey Ranks. Oh, man. Right?
Yeah, so of course, it's a charity bundle, so their designated charity is the Center for Constitutional Rights, which may be going away. We don't know. We'll see how America does with all that stuff. But so both
out of this one.
both No God's Country and Galactic 2E are not available on drive-thru RPG. So this is a great place to get them into your archive. Yeah. So that will do it for this
Wizard's Cabinet.
Yeah, or your Wizard's Cabinet. So where can people find you?
On Blue Sky, basically. It's Hivemind, HYVEMYND, where I was talking before the cast. Latest rabbit hole is finding out what plants produce what kind of dyes, so I can paint little 6mm color.
You're actually going to make the paint?
No. I think people say no. Like what it is actually. Okay, I'll talk about it. I came up with a pretty decent system, right? Because as someone who complains that they can't really see color very well. There are over 200 of these like little 6mm dudes. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time. So I went through my paint catalog and I went, okay, let's try these 2 color combinations of like a mid-tone and a highlight. And let's just put them together and see how they work. And I'm just using that. I actually put 6 color combinations together for pants and I just randomized. I rolled a bunch of D6s in an online roller and wrote down the numbers and then just a block of like I think 60, like 3 whole units. And I just went, okay, the brown on this guy, brown on that, brown, because I want a random look, right? There's no uniforms back then,
right? And
as an artist yourself, you know, like, okay, let's do this random,
right?
It never comes out random,
right?
So let's do it randomized. So I painted all the pants, and then I'm not worrying too much about historical accuracy, but I do want them to be somewhat realistic. So I said, okay, what colors would have been available for tunics in like the 5th century kind of Northern Europe area? And a couple people misunderstood me and were like, oh, well, you could use this and this. And I'm like, pretty sure they didn't have coffee in the Roman Empire. But I mean, like, everyone was like really helpful and really nice. So like, go Blue Sky, right? Anyway, but nice. So that's what I'm doing. And I also kind of took advantage of a lull in price rise. I think I now have like over 200 Greek hoplites coming over eventually sometime soon.
Nice.
Right? I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but no, I know what I'm going to do with them. I'm going to complain that past self, why did you order so many? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
So how about you?
I've got a live stream coming up in February sometime for my single panel gag cartoon.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So Abuse Cartoons on YouTube and Twitch. The live stream will show up on this channel on Upturned Table as well, just to get it out there, just because I'm always talking about it. And so I draw the cartoon and eat some snacks from the convenience store that you don't see every day. I don't torture myself. It's not a challenge. It's not.
It's not something
eat the most disgusting thing.
This looks good that I haven't tried before.
Yes, that's fun. So if you want to read the comic, it's on GoComics. So gocomics.com/domestic abuse. If you like what we're doing here on the weekly, consider becoming a weekling.
Ooh, the camera's there. Strongest of all supporters, right?
Yes.
That was the weakest ever.
So you can do that at patreon.com/upturnedtable. So the different tiers tell us what you want to see more of and what you're supporting. So the weekly will let us know what you want us to talk about more of the types of games, companies, and things you'd like to hear about.
Chat.
Yes.
You'll notice I didn't talk about sports at all this week.
Yes,
you're welcome, chat.
Right. And so Upturned Table on all social media, and upturnedtable.com is the website where you can find everything.
Yeah.
And then we duplicate the content for YouTube members as well. So click that join button if you like the same content, all except the RSS feed. So YouTube hasn't figured out how to do a member-only audio. They should be close to that, but on Patreon you get an RSS feed of this audio for this live stream.
Auto-tune so that we sound a lot better.
Yes, auto-tune. And also the audio for our actual plays and all that good stuff. So nice long things to listen to. And so that'll do it for this week. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back again next week.
Later, mortals.
Goodbye.